Translation. This narration describes the characteristics of the great and exalted devotee Prahlad Maharaj, his staunch devotional service, his perfect knowledge, and his perfect detachment from material contamination. It also describes the Supreme Personality of Godhead as the cause of creation, maintenance, and annihilation. Prahlad Maharaj in his prayers has also described the transcendental qualities of the Lord, and has also described how the various abodes of the demigods and demons, regardless of how materially opulent, are destroyed by the mere direction of the Lord. Purport. Srimad-Bhagavatam is filled with descriptions of the characteristics of various devotees with reference to the service of the Lord. This Vedic literature is called Bhagavatam because it deals with the Supreme Personality of Godhead and his devotee. By studying Srimad-Bhagavatam under the direction of the bona fide spiritual master, one can perfectly understand the science of Krishna, the nature of the material and spiritual worlds, and the aim of life. Srimad-Bhagavatam, Amalam Puranam. Srimad-Bhagavatam is the spotless Vedic literature. Oh, that's a verse. Srimad-Bhagavatam Amalam Puranam. Srimad-Bhagavatam is the spotless Vedic literature, as we have discussed in the beginning of Srimad-Bhagavatam. Therefore, simply by understanding Srimad-Bhagavatam, one can understand the science of the activities of the devotees, the activities of the demons, the permanent abode, and the temporary abode. Through Srimad-Bhagavatam, everything is perfectly known. Paradasyanu charitam mahabhagavatasya cha bhaktir jnanam viraktischa yathartyam chasya vaihare sargasticca apyayeshasya gunakarma anuvarnanam paravaresham sthananam kalena vyachayo mahan. This narration describes the characteristics of the great and exalted devotee Prahlad Maharaj, his staunch devotional service, his perfect knowledge, and his perfect detachment from material contamination. It also describes the Supreme Personality of Godhead as the cause of the creation, maintenance, and annihilation. Prahlad Maharaj in his prayers has described the transcendental qualities of the Lord, and has also described how the various abodes of the demigods and demons, regardless of how materially opulent, are destroyed by the mere direction of the Lord. This is a very nice verse because it describes so many different things which we can talk about for quite a long time. The personality of Godhead is known by his devotees. Because of the devotees of the Lord, Krishna is known. Without the devotees of the Lord, Krishna cannot be known. This is the whole fundamental basis of the entire Krishna consciousness philosophy. That Krishna is known through the mercy of the devotees of Krishna. Otherwise it is not possible to know Krishna. Krishna is not possible to know by mundane speculations or even highly advanced speculations. Krishna is not possible to know by just studying books. Krishna is not possible to know by even performing glorious activities. Because Krishna will manifest himself to he whom he wants to manifest himself to. Krishna will only manifest himself to one who has pleased him. And who pleases Krishna? He pleases Krishna who has pleased his pure devotees. Therefore, we find the Vaishnava devotees of the Lord always trying to take the mercy of other Vaishnava devotees of the Lord, and trying to take the dust of the lotus feet of their spiritual master, placing it humbly upon their heads, and then making great advancement in devotional service. The Vaishnava devotees of the Lord, we say, Vanchakalpatarubhyascha kripasindubhyeva cha patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namaha. Vaishnava devotee of the Lord is just like a desire chi. That desire chi in the spiritual world will deliver whatever one desires. Now the idea of a Vaishnava being like a desire tree is a very good idea, because you only find desire trees in the spiritual world. And in the spiritual world you only desire things which are for the benefit and the service of Krishna. Therefore, a devotee is like a desire tree, because if you desire in the spiritual way, then the devotee can fulfill that desire. If you want Krishna, devotee can give you Krishna. If you want your leg fixed, devotee can send you to a doctor, but he doesn't fix your leg. If you want Krishna, he'll give you Krishna. That is the spiritual desire. So the first thing the devotee does is recreates a spiritual atmosphere. And then, when you desire Krishna, he gives you Krishna. Therefore he's Kripa Sindhu, an ocean of mercy. His only business is to give you Krishna. He is only interested in you, the fallen soul. We do not find devotees, real devotees, interested in their own power, interested in their own position, interested in wealth, interested in distinction. We don't find a real devotee thinking like that. We don't find a real devotee thinking about anything but the fallen souls who he's trying to reach. A real devotee, a bona fide devotee of the Lord, never considers his own position. He'd rather give away everything he has than lose his idea of serving and surrendering everything to the Lord for the benefit of the fallen soul. Just like the example of Prabhupada. There were so many times in Gaudiya Math where there was opportunity to simply engage oneself in court litigation for getting bricks of a temple or two. And he said, let the bricks go. Even when Prabhupada was in Jhansi, there was a place where he had gotten a donation of a building, nice 3 buildings, and he made a nice league of devotees there. And he was preaching, and it was successful. But there was politics by the wife of the governor of the district. Her name was Munshi. We have had occasion to meet her and her good husband often in Bombay. But anyway, she made politics that it was more important to have a woman's league there than a league of devotees, so that women can learn how to sew and be very self-sufficient. So by her politics, she managed to get the landlord of Prabhupada's to take away his permission to use that place and to put him into various difficulties because Prabhupada could not pay a certain amount of money which was required. It wasn't really required, but this landlord artificially made it required. Landlord was a cinema owner, and the wife's dropping hints that he wouldn't get any more license to show movies if he didn't give her that place. So Prabhupada saw he could win in court. In India, if you have a place which is used for religious worship, nobody can take it away from you, for any reason. Even if you don't own it, even if it's just you got in there by some kind of trickery, once you establish a temple, that's it, finished. There's no way to change that. It's very nice law, actually. Very nice law. Protect Krishna. But even a mosque, I mean, it's not just some kind of sectarianism. Even a mosque is in the same rule. So Prabhupada saw, I could win in court. But what is that? Then I have to go to court. And I have to spend all my time in court litigating. Better I give up these buildings. It is inauspicious. Krishna does not want it here. Preaching must go on. Buildings are not required. Building is required, of course, but not this building. he thought like this. So he left that place. And we can understand that attitude of renunciation. It was very beautiful buildings. But he thought, what is the need of buildings? What is the need of bricks? Just like Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati had built a very beautiful Bagh Bazaar temple in Calcutta. It is still there. And at that time it was very opulent. It still is very opulent. It's all marble. The entire thing is marble. And this temple was built a few years before his disappearance. But within a year after it's being built, they were fighting over who was going to get what room and who was going to take what position. And then Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati was very disturbed. You see, he had built the printing press right into the temple. The deity was over there, the printing press was over there. Deity could see the printing press working. So he built it right into the temple. He thought it was so important. But then they started fighting over who was going to live where and who was going to have what position and what power. And therefore, they stopped preaching. And he said, there will be fire in these walls. It's a famous verse. Prabhupada had it inscribed outside of our Mayapur temple. You may notice if you ever go there. There's two verses, one on each side. On one side is Rupa Goswami saying about renunciation. The other side is Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati's prediction. There will be fire in these walls. Just so nobody forgets what walls are for. Not for having fire, but for preaching. So, he said to Srila Prabhupada, I know, they're already fighting in my presence. When I leave, what will happen? Therefore, I would rather that you took down all of the marble from the walls and the floors and you sell them. And then you print books. And Srila Prabhupada understood how important was the production of these books. That his spiritual master was ready to dismantle the most beautiful, opulent temple of Krishna consciousness in the world just to print books. And he made it so that the printing press was directly across from the deity. But of course, what happened afterwards is a very sad story, because they didn't think about printing books. They didn't think about distributing books. They didn't think about preaching Krishna consciousness in an organized and a very straightforward, simple manner. They thought power, position, and prestige. And therefore, the whole thing broke apart. And we understand Srila Prabhupada was the only one. It was very hard to understand. You see, they were very great devotees at that time. The Gaudiya Math was preaching like anything. They were famous throughout India. Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati had conquered all directions. Wherever he went, he conquered. He had tens of thousands of people following him. He didn't have a small movement. He had 60,000 disciples. He had a huge movement. Huge movement. Gigantic movement. He had 60 temples in India. It was huge. He had temples in Burma. He had temples in England even. He was preaching so much. But everything deteriorated because they had a spiritual master who was of the highest caliber possible. But they didn't listen to what he said. They didn't do what he said. They just thought, well, he preaches about Krishna all the time, but practical affairs we know much better. So we will change everything. And they did. They changed everything, including the spirit of Krishna consciousness. And it became material. And therefore that printing press was sold. It's not funny, don't laugh. That printing press was sold. This is one of the greatest disasters, to sell something that belongs to Krishna. It doesn't belong to you. It belongs to Krishna. Everything here belongs to Krishna. Nobody can say, this is my place. I have rental contract. Just like last night I was a tyrant, and I went and threw Hiranyangi out, and then I threw the Gurukul out, And then we moved Janmanalaya. But everybody was very Krishna conscious about it. I was so pleased. Today I don't feel like a tyrant. Yesterday I was a tyrant. But I was so happy. You see, because nobody thought, this is my place. I have my rights. Squatters' rights. In India, this is the big thing. When we try to start our project, immediately all of the welfare organizations are thinking, what is the security of these people? Because at any minute you can pick them up and move them. What is the security of these people? They want you to make contracts and written proposals that these people will never be moved out of their place. And what does that mean? They'll get attached to this place like rats in a hole, and then they'll start eating and living and sleeping and having sex like rats in a hole, and then everything will go to hell, and our whole project is ruined. Therefore, we cannot work with these organizations in this way. But here we don't work like that. It is pure spiritual communism. Whatever is required for Krishna consciousness, any devotee is willing to do. He's willing to live outside in a tent if he has to. Prabhupada taught us that in Bombay. We lived outside in a tent. It wasn't very pleasant. It was very hard to live outside in a tent. To live in a house where the rain came through. When monsoon. It was very difficult times. But I remember Prabhupada said, you should live out there in a tent. Because we couldn't build our temple. You should be so prepared. Because, after all, this human form of life is meant for rendering service to your spiritual master and Krishna. And therefore, I want this done, Prabhupada said, now do it. Somehow or another. This is actually pleasing to the spiritual master and to Krishna. That whatever is required, we do. Not this opposite number. This is my place. These possessions are mine. And therefore, I can sell them. And I can use the money for whatever I want. Or I will extort or cheat. Or I will arrange things for my own benefit or my position. These things. This is all material consciousness. Every one of us should be willing to do absolutely anything for the service of Krishna. It's easy for somebody to say, oh, I'll give up my life for the service of Krishna. But give up my position? Never. That means you won't give up your life either. You just talk big words. If you can't give up your position, then how are you ever going to give up your life? If you're so attached to position, to power, to influence, how you're ever going to become freed from the body, which is the instrument by which power and influence is manifested in this world. Therefore, Prahlad Maharaj, he spoke about pure devotional service. And even Lord Nrsingadev asked him, my dear Prahlad Maharaj, you are such a nice devotee of me, and you have given up everything to serve me. Therefore, ask me anything. I will give you any benediction you want in the whole universe. Whatever you want, I will give you. He was ready to give Prahlad Maharaj the whole universe. Nrsingadev is no poor man. You want to ask charity of Lord Nrsingadev, he'll give you the whole universe. If Prahlad Maharaj had asked for the universe, he would have given it to him. Lord Nrsingadev was ready. It's like when a king says, I'm ready to give you charity. You should ask for everything because he's ready to give it. And he will. It's his word. And God, what to speak of Lord Nrsingadev. He said, I will give, then take. But no, Prahlad Maharaj said, I'm not a businessman. I'm not a businessman. I didn't perform loving devotional service to your lotus feet to get something in return. I just want to satisfy you. That's all. I don't want anything. I don't want any position. I don't want any profit. I don't want any distinction. I don't want any power. I just want your loving devotional service. In this life and every life, I don't even want to go back to Godhead until all these fallen souls go back before me. How pure, how renounced is Prahlad Maharaj. Didn't think of himself at all. Actually, he thought of himself in a certain way. He thought of his spiritual self. He said, if I take these benedictions of power, profit, prestige, distinction, opulence, then I'm going to lose the lotus feet of Lord Nrsingadev. So for me, the best thing to do is give up all these things. They're not required. And just engage myself in pure, loving, devotional service to the Lord. Now, some people who are new to all of these kind of talks may think, how horrible. That means we get nothing in this world. But actually, that's not true at all either. Prahlad Maharaj, although he wanted nothing from the Lord, and although he gave everything to the Lord, became the king and got everything. He didn't want it, but he got everything. Just like Srila Prabhupada, he told us once, yes, I renounced my sons and my daughters, but now I have got thousands of sons and daughters. So what is the loss? Please save that head for BBT. Srila Prabhupada renounced Jhansi, but now he has so many places, much better than Jhansi. This is actually good understanding. Not that you renounce in order to get something better. Material. That's also a disease. Man tries to be humble in order to get more respect. Man tries to renounce in order to get more later on. This is the Karma Kanda section. We worship the demigods, perform Agnihotras, sacrifices, be very renounced and austere in order to go to the heavenly planets after this lifetime. We perform very heavy austerities. We don't eat, we don't sleep, we don't have any material sense enjoyment in order to develop mystic powers. We are very humble. We act like very humble, sincere Vaishnavas. Oh, Dandavat, Dandavat, in order to be respected. This is all cheating. It's all cheating in various ways. Cheating is a very subtle thing. It means one ultimately has as his goal his own sense gratification. That's cheating. Prabhupada said, I never cheated my Guru Maharaj. We sometimes wonder what that means. I mean, after all, nobody cheated their spiritual master. We didn't offer him a business deal and then rip him off completely and run away. We didn't sell his clothes in the marketplace. And we didn't cheat either. No. But actually, that's not what Prabhupada meant. Cheating means, ultimately, you don't have his mission in your heart. Ultimately, you have your own mission in your heart. That's cheating. Having the mission of your spiritual master in your heart, that's honesty. Prabhupada, I never cheated my spiritual master. Because he never thought for a moment, me. He never thought my. He never thought mine. He thought his. Prabhupada, at every moment he thought like that. He never cheated his spiritual master. He never tried to get himself some palaces to live in. Although he had so many palaces, he never lived in them. Somebody may criticize, Prabhupada had in New Vrindavan a bathroom with golden faucets. But my dear sir, if you had a bathroom with golden faucets, you'd be in there playing with the faucets all day. He didn't even live there. And you may say, well, he kept it as a capital investment. But it didn't belong to him legally. He didn't keep it like that. He never even went there. He had so many palaces he never even stayed in. He just went, translated, preached, ate this much prasadam, and left. Onwards to preach somewhere else, to spread Krishna consciousness somewhere else. Never attached to these places. Never attached to fame or position. Never attached to anything but that we will print more books. We will distribute more books. We will get more devotees. And we will gradually institute Varnashram Dharma through these farm projects in our preaching work. If you look in the life of Srila Prabhupada, you'll never see anything more than these four things being done in different ways just to bring the whole society back home, back to Godhead. And although there is opulence, so much opulence was there, but still, it was not opulence which everyone was attached to. He was not attached to it. Although we become very attached to opulence, we become attached to offices, we become attached to homes, we become attached to cars, we become attached to positions. But if you look at the life of Srila Prabhupada, you never see such a thing. You never see such a thing. Although such a great scholar and devotee, practically, even in the 1950s, Prabhupada was recognized as the best preacher. You just see by the way his God brothers dealt with him. Although they never wanted to admit it, he was the best preacher. They never admitted it to him, but they knew. And still, Prabhupada became their humble servant. He became their humble servant, doing whatever they wanted him to do. But they became envious of him and asked him to leave. And he left. He didn't cause fight. He didn't say, well, this is actually my place. I'm going to bring it with me. I'm going to bring my lawyer. He never said. He just left. If wherever Krishna wants me to go, I will go. But his attitude was, I am humble servant at every time. If they do not want my service, I have to go where my service is wanted. And then when he came to America, he was humble servant. Humble servant of all of us. When he came to Germany, he was humble servant. When he came to Stockholm, he was humble servant. Like a cow. Wherever you bring a cow, it gives milk. Wherever Prabhupada went, he was humble servant. Just serving all of us, giving us Krishna consciousness, writing these books. Every morning he was up 1:30, 1 o'clock, 12:30, just starting to write. So wonderful books. Just writing, just working, just for us. Humble servant. Yet the biggest position. Right next to God, standing on the same level, but humble servant all the time. Never demanding anything but distribute books. Prabhupada, sometimes you may wonder why I'm running around going, make books, make books, make books. But actually I'm quoting Prabhupada. I did not invent. I have no credit. I'm a very good follower. I can also run around screaming, make book, make book, make book. I have a bigger mouth. So that is an expansion of Srila Prabhupada's desire. My big mouth. And I will run around screaming, make books, make books, make books. Because that's what Prabhupada used to do all the time. He used to write letters just saying, make book, make book, make book. When will you ever understand? When will you ever understand? He used to repeat it over and over again. Distribute books, distribute books, distribute books. Otherwise there will be no more of this Hari Hari Bol. You are going Hari Bol only because you are out preaching. And although it's hard, as soon as you stop preaching, there's no more Hari Bol. There's Hari politics. Yeah. Then we start making plans. As soon as you stop preaching, what does it mean? Making a plan for a position. Now, I am no longer humble servant. I am humble master. I'm becoming less humble every day. No longer humble servant. I'm humble master. Now, when I was preaching, of course, that's for the lower class devotees. That's for the younger men. That's for the new men. They're full of life and energy. They can do the preaching. I'll manage them. And what does that mean? Okay, now you give me all the money, and I'll see to spend it properly for Krishna. In this way, cheating, all different kinds of cheating. And the cheating comes by getting money, by getting profit, distinction, power, by getting even material sense enjoyment, so gross as sex life or whatever that is there. Intoxication. Sometimes we see these people even trying to maintain their big positions. They're taking intoxication and they're engaged in illicit sex life. This is not Krishna consciousness. You can know it for certain. It's just cheating. And the funny thing is people who act like this, they actually think they're going to get something. I find this fantastic. Nobody gets anything by acting like this. Those who have been cheaters in this movement have never lasted more than 1-2 years at their cheating business, and then they get the big foot by Krishna. Krishna has the biggest foot. You've seen in the Radha Damodar temple. It's so big. And when Krishna wants to give you that foot in the face, that is big foot, you will get it right in the face. Therefore, why don't you not test Krishna or how far I can get away with things? Nobody gets away with anything. How far I can do this material business. You can't do it. You can't take from Krishna. Krishna will destroy you. That is a fact. You can be destroyed just by being relegated to some 4 walls and some stale, stagnating bunch of disciples. That is also relegated. That is jail. To have disciples that are like anchors, cementing you into the ground, who are very attached. This we don't want. We don't want disciples who are anchors. Personally, I refuse to be bound to 4 walls. Yeah. Don't become like anchors. The tendency is, spiritual master anyway, I can just go do whatever I want. And leave, walk away, run away. Kick Guru in the face, and then come back later and say, oh, I'm so sorry. Please accept me. And then kick Guru in the face and come back later and go, oh, so sorry, please accept me. But spiritual master's humble servant, so he accepts the kick in the face, says, thank you very much, you dear rascal. And then when you come back, he says, okay, now you straighten out, perform devotional service. You kick him in the face again, he says, thank you very much, my dear rascal, you nonsense. And then when you come back, he accepts you again. But if you try and do that more than 3 times, spiritual master's option is whether or not he will accept you. That's his own personal option. It actually is his option whether he will do it 3 times. So I should know. Don't cheat. Don't think, oh, now I'll go away for some time, enjoy, and then come back. And then when I come back, I'll be more detached from my material desires because I'll have already enjoyed them, and then I'll realize they're not what I want. And if you go away to have sex life, to realize it's not what you want, isn't there something strange about that? You know perfectly well you want it. And therefore you go and enjoy it. And you know perfectly well you're never going to not want it. But when you're frustrated, you come back to get freed from frustration. And then again, when you're freed from frustration, you kick Guru in the face and go out to get what you really want. This is a disease. And the first manifestations of this kind of disease is, all right, tear down the purity of the standards of the movement which Srila Prabhupada has set, and invent some new standards which accommodate my material enjoyment. We always find those who go away, they have their own fringe movement. And in their fringe movement they have a code and laws which allows illicit sex life, because after all we have material bodies, and allows a certain amount of intoxication, but not beer on Ekadasi, which accommodates a certain amount of material profit, because, we need to buy our different kinds of material enjoyments. And they have a very strict standard amongst themselves. And they say this is actually what Prabhupada wanted. He was not a fanatic. Just like one time, because I was always saying, don't eat Simply Wonderfuls on Ekadasi, because they use powdered sugar, and powdered sugar is 1/4 cornstarch. So, anyway, what's a Simply Wonderful? Who cares if you eat it or not? I mean, you can eat it the next day. You can have 10 the next day if you want. But just don't do it on Ekadasi. So somebody went to Prabhupada and said, this Harikesa fanatic is saying not to eat Simply Wonderfuls on Ekadasi because they have cornstarch in them. Prabhupada said, we are not fanatics. That if you want to eat Simply Wonderfuls, you can eat Simply Wonderfuls. So then, that same devotee said, yeah, we're not fanatics. I can eat Milky Ways also. Although they have egg in them. So he started eating Milky Ways. And then the same devotee started growing his hair real long. Then he started wearing a bandana. Then he started having illicit sex, and then he started smoking marijuana. And now he's a first-class demon, working in whatever way he can to destroy Krishna consciousness movement. But his justification is we're not fanatics, and you're all fanatics. Therefore, we should reject all of you and go out and do things the right way. You see? Therefore, we should be very strict. Why should we compromise the principles that have been set up by Srila Prabhupada? I don't see why. We should have these ideals as our goals in life, our mission in life. We should not have any cheating. There should not be any duplicity. We should produce these books of Srila Prabhupada. We should distribute these books of Srila Prabhupada. We should make as many devotees as possible, and we should engage everybody within the Varnashram. The Prabhupada said, if I live, I will start Varnashram. So we have to do it for him, because that's what he wanted, by getting these Krishna Conscious Farm projects and expanding our movement. So these 4 principles are the programs which Prabhupada very strictly delineated. And we should not move from these programs in the slightest bit. Now someone may say, we're distributing records or candles. What is that? Because we got to get the farm. But after we get this farm, you're not going to see these things very much. Maybe a little bit. Records are okay if they talk about Krishna. Prabhupada said records are good, books are good, but books are better, books are eternal. I know where it's at. But sometimes we need a little money. But anyway, the point is that we're not going to deviate from these principles in our heart. That is a fact. And if we do, then we're cheaters. We have to understand this. And if we do understand it, why don't you open the windows a little bit? If we do understand it, Krishna Consciousness Movement will be a great success. It will be a great success. It is destined to be a great success. But maybe you'll be part of the success or not, I can't say. But if you take the mission in your heart, you will be. You have to be. Krishna will arrange it such that you will be, and you have to be part of this great movement. And it will be a success, and it will expand. And you will be in ecstasy. Guaranteed, and you will realize Krishna. There's a guarantee. It will happen. Krishna's mercy, Prabhupada's mercy, your following and understanding these instructions will cause this great, wonderful Krishna consciousness movement to spread and spread and spread. And we are just mentioning these negative things so that we know what not to do. It's very helpful to know what pits not to fall into. If you know where the pits are and you know what it's like to fall in a pit, then you don't want to fall in one of those pits. If the pit is covered a little bit by grasses and you don't know what the pit is like, then you'll think, oh, well, anyway, if I fall in a pit, I'll just get out. But no. These pits have knives in the bottom. And when you fall in these pits, you get sliced up. And you don't crawl out of these pits. We have seen this practically. When you fall in one of those pits, you don't crawl out. Therefore, avoid these pitfalls in devotional service by maneuvering your way around these empty, void holes, which are only filled with sharp razor blades, and just stick on the principles. Produce these books, distribute these books, make devotees, and let's start this Varnashram Dharma and save this rotten, nasty, nonsense society. This is our program, and it's very successful. And this is Prahlad Maharaj's program. Exactly. Because when he was king, he turned demons to devotees. So great a devotee was he. He was the king of the demons. But he made them devotional because of his great leadership qualities. Even the demons, he forced them into the Varnashram system, forced them to serve Krishna. Yes, we want to do that. And people will like it. Now, people are not happy in this material society because nobody is remembering Krishna. Nobody is remembering pure devotional service. Everybody is remembering their pocketbook, their tongue, their belly, and their genital. And they don't remember Krishna. They don't want to hear about Krishna. They don't want to chant the names of Krishna. They don't want to surrender to Krishna. And if you mention Krishna to a demon, he attacks you, wants to beat you to a pulp. The demons hate us. And we hate the demons. And the innocent people, they're just watching. What is going on? What are these Hare Krishnas up to anyway? Look at them. They do so nice things. And look at these demons fighting with them all the time. Why is this? I just wrote an article. It's called Separating the Curd from the Whey. Did you get it up here? Put it in. Separating the curd from the whey means there are demons and there are devotees. And there's an awful lot of people in the middle. And these books are the lemon in the milk. They are causing the curd to separate from the whey. The whey is what's left over when you make curd, yeah? That yellowish kind of liquid, which is more or less useless. The only thing I found you can use whey for is making pakora dough with it. But anyway. Oh, it's a pun. If you separate the curd from the whey, then the curd and the whey are two totally distinct items, although they have come from the same homogeneous substance. The society looks to be very homogeneous, but actually it is two distinct classes of men living within this society. And now people don't know it because they're just bewildered by this homogeneous mass of white milky substance. But as soon as we put this lemon in, it's called a catalyst. Huh? It's like when you have two chemicals, they may sit together looking very pretty, but as soon as you put a little catalyst in, chemical catalyst, it causes a reaction to start, and then a whole different thing happens. So we're going to put the catalyst in. We're already doing it. It's already in. And the more catalyst you put in, the more the separation is obvious. Until finally it's completely separated. And then you have to remove the curd from the whey in order to use it. So this is what we want to do. We're already doing it. We want to do it more. And we shouldn't be afraid, because there's an awful lot of people in the curd. It's not like there's only a handful of people in the curd. We don't have to worry. Every day, more and more people join the curd pile. Usually people throw the whey away. So, Krishna consciousness movement is very strictly following the principles of Lord Chaitanya. It's trying to, anyway. Certain parts of it are strictly following the principles of Lord Chaitanya. And I am very hopeful that we here will understand what is to be done and what is not to be done, and we will do it. And that we will become more and more enthusiastic, and we won't be attached to these little piles of wood out there, these little boxes that we're living in. I mean, I know you're not all very attached, but I'm just saying it because I have to say these things. That those piles of wood out there, at any moment they can be blown over. The wind was pretty strong last night. It can get stronger. One day in Mayapur, just before I arrived, the wind was something like 280 kilometers an hour. And it knocked over everybody's houses. And it knocked over huge, gigantic banyan trees and picked them up and flung them in the air. It was amazing how much wind was there. And, I mean, we can have wind here too one day. And your whole house can fall on top of you. So, one has to be ready to pick up and move at a moment's notice. It's a good training when certain tyrants go around and demand you pick up and move at a moment's notice. Although we won't do that very often. But it is good training, because at death you will be demanded, pick up and move. You've got a moment. Pick up and move. Okay, let's go. Out. But nope, come on. So what to speak of moving out of a house? That is no big deal. But we should not be attached. We should not be attached. Ultimately, we should only be attached to Krishna and Krishna's service. Ultimately, that is a fact. We should be very attached to these things. how to please, how to serve Krishna, how to please and serve spiritual master, how to preach, how to distribute books, how to make books. Very nice social arrangement, a nice feeling of responsibility and community. Now we have to exploit that feeling, not for ourselves, but for preaching Krishna consciousness. Bring more and more people in, be more and more cooperative. Cooperation amongst our God brothers is very important in spiritual life. More important than becoming a singular star is cooperating with others. Prabhupada once said, it's very nice you do something yourself, but if you can engage others in doing it, that's even better. That's even better. That's even a higher service, to engage many others in doing it. I don't mean like a boss at a work who engages a couple of coolies. I mean engaging fallen souls who were not engaged before in the highest welfare service of the Supreme Lord. That is very high service. Therefore, we should be eager to cooperate with each other on all levels, how we're going to preach, how we're going to expand Krishna consciousness. It should be nicely decided, and we should go on and make a great success in Krishna consciousness movement. This is required. And also, there is a tendency amongst God brothers to become envious of one another. This is not very good. Enviousness is due to the basest, lowest material desire. Therefore, we should not become envious of one another. We should not think, oh, he has a big position, why I don't have a big position? Or he has a lot of wealth, why I don't have a lot of wealth? Why he has a lot of power, why I don't have a lot of power? We should think, Krishna has put us in these different positions due to our qualifications. And when we show ourselves to be greater, immediately the reward will be there. In this Krishna consciousness movement, we require leaders, we require great personalities more than anything else. Therefore, as soon as you become a little qualified, immediately you're put into a position. You don't have to wait in line around this place. It's not like we have a big, applications department for becoming a big shot. Even before you even think of making your application, you're made a big shot if you've got the qualification. We don't have a big waiting list. Nobody's frustrated around here. But who's frustrated? He with no qualification, but who thinks he's got very big qualification. And who's envious of others who actually do have the qualification. He's frustrated. And that is very dangerous. Because such a personality, he'll just start talking about how everybody else stinks really, and he's actually the greatest, but nobody recognizes it. And therefore, the managers of this movement, they're actually foolish and stupid because they don't recognize how intelligent I am. That's actually the problem in this material world. If you tell somebody, oh, you're very intelligent, he immediately thinks you're very intelligent. Isn't this crazy? I can just fool you. Say, oh, you're a very intelligent man. Now you give me this and that and help me this way and that way. He goes, oh yes, you're very intelligent and you're my friend also, so I will help you. Any two-bit man, low-class man, can be fooled in this manner. You just tell him you're very intelligent and very great, and he's immediately sold to you. So, just because somebody tells you you're very intelligent doesn't mean that he's very intelligent. You may actually be a fool, and he may tell you you're a fool. And he may even be very intelligent, because he's actually tried to help you, and decided it's better that you hear the truth than you try to get some artificial puffed-upness, which can be completely deflated when some little child comes with a pin and sticks it in you. And we have seen all devotees who are struggling to become big men, always bloop. If you're struggling in that way, you won't stay in Krishna consciousness movement because there's no room for you here in this movement. Because if you were actually qualified, you would have been elevated immediately to the position. And because you're not qualified, you have to constantly blow yourself up like a frog to take the position. And even if you get the position, some child comes along and pops your big illusion with a pin and displays how unqualified you are. And then you don't get anything, and you have to go away because your whole pride is destroyed. And when pride is ruined, such a personality can't go on in this world. I'm warning you, don't think like that. Don't get that disease. Don't get the diseases. This class is about the diseases you can get. It's like a doctor's, book, medical book. It's the Krishna conscious medical book. Don't get the disease of fame, profit, and distinction or sex life. Don't get the disease of thinking you're something. Get the disease of knowing you are the eternal, not the disease. Get the healthy condition of knowing you are the eternal servant of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Humble servant, really humble, not phony humble. Phony humble you know immediately. Somebody's phony humble, you just a little bit on him. You just flick his shoulder a little bit, and immediately you see the hairs go up. That's phony humble. Real humble, like Nityananda Prabhu, was hit on the head by a pot by some rascals, and he prayed for their liberation. Real humble. But Nityananda Prabhu was not known for walking around with folded hands. Nityananda Prabhu was dancing and jumping and saying all kinds of things to all kinds of people. But when it came down to it, he was the most humble of all. Because inside he was really humble. Whereas those who were pretending to be very humble, as soon as there was a little bit of disturbance, immediately blowing up. Screaming unfair, screaming politics, screaming going on. Blah, blah. So, if we know these points, and we're on the straight and narrow path, not blind path, because we see all the pitfalls everywhere. It's not a blind path, but we see it's a razor's edge, and we know if we walk on it this way, we'll get across, slowly but surely. And if we try to jump over here and then back on and jump over there and then back on and jump over there and back on, you know, when you jump on and off a razor blade, you get cuts. And if you kind of just inch your way along, then you can survive. So I hope everybody takes this class for what it was meant to be. And if the shoe fits, wear it. It's a saying in English. If the shoe fits, wear it. If the description fits you, then put it on. And look at it. And understand what it means. If the shoe fits, wear it. And if it doesn't fit, then probably you're a little bit blind. Because it fits on almost everybody's shoe. So, once we get the shoe on, we should feel how it feels to be a rascal. We should understand really how we're rascals. And how we have to work in such a way to get these dog-eating desires out of our heart. And get the real desires of surrendering to Krishna in the heart and serving Prabhupada the way he wants us to serve him. With great love and devotion and cooperation. Are there any questions? Yes.
Sometimes when things go wrong or difficult, that it's very difficult to people that want to do that. Not worry about it anymore.
Just like this farm project was hopeless. Hopeless. We weren't going to get it. There was no hope. Bhagavan kept on fighting. And now it's becoming very hopeful. Bombay was hopeless. Hopeless. There was no way of getting around that mess in Bombay. Prabhupada just didn't give up. Everybody else thought, we're never going to get this place. Prabhupada said, we're going to get this place. He didn't give up. Didn't budge an inch. Not 1 inch. Not for 1 second did Prabhupada ever think. Even when one so-called authority canceled the whole agreement. Oh, I'll never forget that. I'll never forget, I was there when Prabhupada answered the phone. And they said, I canceled the agreement, Prabhupada said. Just sat there. And he said, you what? I canceled the agreement. You fool! Never gave up. Even when the agreement was canceled, he didn't give up. And now with no contract, he still defeated those rascals and got that place. So, when it gets tough, I had a gym teacher, I probably told you before. When the going gets tough, the tough get going. It's the only thing I learned in my gym class. One motto. When the going gets tough, the tough get going. That usually means, when it's tough in the football game, you start bashing your head against the other guy. But it actually means something in devotional service. When things get very, very difficult, but you know it's right, then you really start pushing for Krishna. The demons, they're just all bluff. I tell you quite frankly. They're all bluff. They'll make trouble for you, but when they see how determined you are, they run away. They're afraid. They've never seen anybody so determined. That's why the demigods always defeat the demons. Because the demons, they come on and they make their big illusions and their big noise and their hullabaloo. And then the demigods get angry and they really start pushing those demons. And they chase them everywhere. So similarly, we don't stop doing something just because it gets tough. In fact, that makes us more determined, if that's what we have to do. But if we go to authority, and authority says, why are you pushing and struggling so hard on this? This is not right. We don't want this. Krishna doesn't want this. Then give it up immediately. Don't become some sentimentalist. Oh, I've got to push through in any and all circumstances, regardless. Even the authority says I shouldn't do it. But I know what's right and wrong. I have to push through. This is useless. Krishna, you're going to run into a brick wall. But if Krishna wants it, then you just go on struggling and you'll succeed. Other questions? Yeah. When is it never up? But you already have a very nice position. As Sankirtan men, distributing so many books, you have the highest position. You already have the highest position.
I understand it, but the false ego also wants to, get up
And what?
sometimes some material things.
When you want praise, you come to me and I will praise you for all your nice book distribution. When was the last time somebody was trying to, he was very depressed because he didn't want his false ego to get in the way of his book distribution. He was trying to be very, very humble, and so he stopped distributing books very well. And what did I say? You should have pride and go out and distribute more books. Be proud that you're doing it. And then gradually that pride will go away. And you'll do it out of love. But better you do it with pride than you don't do it at all. Now to answer your question, false ego can only be conquered by devotional service and time. Jarayati yasi yad vairagyam jnanam yad koshalam nitha. That just like when you eat, food is digested and you're not even aware of it, naturally. By the performance of devotional service, the false position of the subtle body is dissolved, digested, and you're not even aware of it. So just be patient and go on, and it'll go away. But in the meantime, I'm very glad you're distributing so many books, and you're doing very nicely, and I'm really shocked and surprised how nicely you did, and therefore just keep on going. Other questions? Somebody else had a question before and I called on him instead of... You? You had your hand up before? Alright. Generally in Varnashram system there aren't too many demons. Right, and there's also no Varnashram system. So, Varnashram system is meant for when there's a lot of devotees to be organized. It's not meant for organizing demons. Demons will refuse to be organized by Varnashram system. No. Even you can't do it. Demons don't become devotees. Demons stay demons. Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita, Mudho Janmani Janmani, again and again, I cast them into demoniac species of life. Because they're just envious of Krishna. You can't talk to an envious person. You can't feed a snake milk and bananas. Do you know that? Snakes actually, they get very poisonous when they drink milk and bananas. I just found that out the other day. That's actually a fact. It's not just a saying. If the snakes drink milk and bananas, something very nice, right? They get incredibly envious and poisonous. So an envious man, no matter what you do for him, he'll become more envious. If you give an envious man something nice to eat, he'll think, where did these people get this from? They're just demons, and they just have to rot, that's all. Let them rot. Don't feel bad about it, they're rascals. They're nonsenses. They're demons. Let them rot. We like that. Don't be sentimental. They hate God. They hate Krishna. They want to kill Krishna. Why should I feel good about them? They want to come in here and smash the deities. That's what they really want to do. Who can feel sorry for such people? Rascals. Who's somebody else? Hand up. Huh? Anger should be used against demons. Fear should be used to be afraid of falling down from Krishna consciousness. And desire should be used to desire only Krishna. In this way, desire, fear, and anger become very good friends for the devotee. Then they just split. Just get away as fast as possible. Well, when you got big, strong demons and they say, look, I got your book, what are you going to do about it? You can start screaming thief, that works sometimes. Of course, I don't know. Manidhar is the only one I know who can subjugate any demon on the street. Expert. Oh, expert. Once he had a demon, I'll tell you a story. Once he had a demon who was following him everywhere he went. And every time he'd give a book to somebody, this demon would say, "Do you know who this book is about? It's about Krishna. This is a Hare Krishna book. This is a sect. They're criminals. They're thieves. They're rascals. They're brainwashers. You don't want to buy this book." And the person would go, "Oh no, I don't want to buy it." So he tried to run this way, run that way. The demon would follow him and say the same thing. And this went on for an hour. Finally, Manidhar, he knew there was nothing else to do. He fell down on the floor and started to lick the shoes of this demon. And then he just... And then he tried to walk back, and Manidhar kept grabbing his feet. And he followed him all the way down the street this way. Finally, the demon went, "You're crazy! You're crazy!" And he ran away. This is actual humility and very great intelligence. Very great spiritual intelligence.
So when I read books, I understand why bother Krishna, but then you become a little bit pacified, but then you become dry immediately.
Your renunciation.
Yeah. Then by the Shastras, it is because it is bothering Krishna for either your own benefit or and Krishna can't do that in any way. It's bothering Krishna.
It's not bothering Krishna when your desire is to spread Krishna conscious movement and you have an idea. Then you present the idea. And then authority, if he has any intelligence, will tell you, this idea is not very useful, this idea is very useful. And then either your desire will be confirmed or denied.
But we also say that Krishna has his plan. So ultimately all desires should...
And if the authority is proper, his plan and Krishna's plan are the same. And if authority is not so qualified, his plan and Krishna's plan may be different. So, what, relevance that has to your particular situation, you have to see in your dealings with that personality. But I want to make a statement. Please forgive me. Many times in the past, many people have wanted to do many different things. And I have said yes or no accordingly. And when I say no and somebody does it anyway, I was always right. And many times in the past, different people have wanted to do different things. And sometimes I say yes and sometimes I say no. When I say yes, it usually works out okay. When I say no, if the person doesn't do it, everything's fine. If the person does do it, it's always a failure and a flop exactly the way I said it would be. Those who have been around for a while know that's a fact. That's my business. Everybody's got a business in this movement. You play mridanga and do all this preaching much better than I do it. And he distributes books much better than I do it. And others take care of other things much better than I do it. But this I do better than anyone else. That's why I'm here. So, if you accept that, that's very good. Everything goes on. If you don't accept that, then there's problems. I'm not saying you don't. I'm not trying to. I'm just making a statement because I wanted to make that statement. Because after a while I get fed up. After years of dealing with somebody and telling him the right thing all the time and having him deviate and get smashed, and when he does it right it goes on fine. At one point I have to say, listen, when are you ever going to learn that I do know better than you do? Otherwise, what am I doing in charge? And if I don't know better than you, then you sit up here and be in charge. That's the Vedic system. He who's best at telling others what to do, he's in charge. If there's actually somebody better than me at this business, I will sit down there. That's a promise. And one day I may do it. I have more fun down there than I have up here. That's a fact. Maybe you don't understand that. It's a miserable job. Everybody blooping all the time and running off and doing this and that and, problems, demons and money and this and that, and there's so many problems. Oh, so many problems. It's so much nicer down there. You have no idea. And all you do is you give me all your problems. And you're happy. But I have to do it because that's my service. That's your service. This is my service. Everybody has a service. I don't consider my service any different than anybody else's service here. My service just happens to be that I'm supposed to be the guru. And I'm supposed to be the GBC and the DBT trustee. But actually I see I'm just like all of you doing the service. One cog in the wheel. But if you see me working like that as one cog in the wheel and you think that I'm just one cog in the wheel, then that's an offense. I will act as one cog in the wheel, but you should know perfectly well that that one cog is making all the other cogs work. That's one problem with working with me. It's because I'll always put myself down to the lowest level to work on the same level as everybody else. Because that's what makes life go on the best. But if you start thinking, yeah, he's also an ordinary man, just like us, then you fall down. I just said a very heavy thing. If you think about it, you'll understand. I will make myself an ordinary man because it makes preaching the best. I don't want to be adored and glorified by loving, enthusiastic disciples. I very much appreciate the mood, but I don't like it. Because when new people come and they see this animal sitting up here on this Vyasasana, accepting all this love and devotion, Srila Bhaktisiddhanta used that word, therefore I use it. He said, here I sit on this big seat, and the people in the audience are thinking, what an animal! A veritable beast from the zoo! How he can sit up there and accept worship in a higher seat while very learned and respectable authorities are sitting on the floor. So therefore I like to keep things very calm. Don't get overwhelmed with all this worship and this and that. It's like once I left the Schloss, and one devotee, he was running after the car, crying with tears flowing from his eyes in a stream. I couldn't believe it. I thought it was strings. And he was going, I looked at him, I said, this devotee is mad. It was not real. It could not have been real. And very soon after that he blooped. And then he came back and he blooped again. And then he came back and then he blooped again. Because that's sentiment. That is mundane sentiment. That is not real. Real devotion, you can see it on the face of the devotee when he sees his spiritual master. The brow is very solid like a piece of granite. And inside he's thinking how I'm going to please my spiritual master. He's got just a will, an iron will to do it. That's real attachment and devotion. And all of this fanfare and jumping up and down, this is sometimes so artificial. I'm not saying you're doing it artificially, please. I didn't mean to say that. But sometimes it's so artificial. Therefore, it's much better to keep it cool. And Prabhupada never liked so many external shows of adoration. Because that's not the business. Guru-disciple relationship is a very serious thing. And when we make it very cheap with all of this cheap adoration and this and that, then the whole thing becomes very liable to become diseased at any moment. It can become diseased. Either party can get attached to these different kinds of adoration, and it becomes pure sentiment, and then it becomes fame, profit, and distinction. I don't want to get hooked by fame, profit, and distinction. I have no desire whatsoever to get captured by these things. I have enough problems worrying about getting captured by demons when I go out preaching. These are highway robbers. Bhaktivinoda Thakur calls them highway robbers. They're sitting on the pass, just waiting for you to go by. And just when you're going by with thousands of screaming people following you, they jump. Now we got you. And you're completely wallowing in the glory of all these people screaming and yelling your name. And you don't know what to do. Here's this highway robber on your back, and he's got you on the ground. And everybody's screaming, "Joy! Ah! Joy!" But screaming masses does not a great soul make. Devotional service does. What? But I told you what to do. Just now I just told you what to do, and before I told you what to do. You don't make any decisions. You just switched our positions. I said I'm making this decision, and then you just said, now, I sometimes don't know when I can make that decision. Well, whoever said that was within your power to make that decision? It is not. That is my decision to make. Only I can say what I just said. There's nobody else in this room, nobody, who can say what I just said and not commit an offense. I said, yes, too much fame, profit, all this adoration is not good. I said that. If any one of you in the room had said that, it would have been an offense. Any one of you. Therefore, nobody says such a thing. But I say it. Because I want the preaching to go on. I don't want the demons to come up to us and go, you're just crazy sentimental fanatics. Following somebody who just goes in his gold toilet and has piles of money in his pocket. I don't want that criticism. Because it's unfair. It ruins the movement, ruins preaching. Therefore I'm asking for a little more sanity. I haven't said you've gone overboard. I haven't said that at all. I'm talking in this lecture about a lot of things which are not going on in this yatra. I'm talking about things which are going on all over the world, and you're going to hear about them real soon. So I'm preparing you. Now I've come out and told you the truth. Yes, there are a lot of disturbances due to the fact that people are not following these four things. Therefore, please you do it. Then you won't ever have a disturbance. And when you hear about disturbances elsewhere because of not doing these things, now you know why, and you should not be disturbed by them at all. Oh boy, everybody's so curious. Curiosity killed the cat. Curiosity also killed the monkey. You know, we have that, curiosity killed the cat is the Western one, but in the Hitopadesh we have curiosity killed the monkey. Because there was a log, you know, when you split a log, there's a big split in it, and then you put a wedge in it. So the monkey, he said, what is this wedge? I wonder, let's see. So he started to pull the wedge out. He was standing in between, and he was trying to pull the wedge out. And then when he pulled the wedge out, it crushed him, and he died. So the curiosity killed the cat actually came from curiosity killed the monkey. Except they don't have very many monkeys around here, and they have a lot of cats. So they just changed it. So, to end up all of this, I promise I won't give classes like this anymore. I'll just talk about Krishna consciousness. Anyway, to finish up all of this, just understand what is right and what is wrong by your intelligence. Here, read the books and understand that the simplest, most perfect, most straightforward path of spreading Krishna consciousness is the best. And we don't have to do anything else. We have to just do what Prabhupada did, then we'll be a success. And what Prabhupada did was he printed books, he distributed books, he made devotees, and he started farm projects. And this is what he wants us to do, and this is what we shall do. And if we do it, we'll be a success. If we don't do it, we'll be a failure. Okay, that's all. Hare Krishna.